Hello?
Hey, Brittney, it's Rustin. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I am wonderful. It is good to get a chance to talk with you again.
Yeah, you too.
Well, first off, congratulations on the new album, Apex, out June 10th.
Thank you.
You guys have to be pretty excited.
Yes, absolutely. Excited to hear what people think and to finally get it out there so I could stop worrying about it.
Before we talk about the new album, this year marks your 10th anniversary as a band. Does it seem like a decade already?
No, it's gone way too fast, and it just makes me feel old, really, is all it does. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty crazy. It doesn't feel like super monumental because we're just going to keep on going and keep doing what we do. So, I mean, it's just more than anything, it's unbelievable. So, yeah, no, totally. Yeah, absolutely.
You always want to say that every album you make is your best, but I have to say Apex really sounds like you brought it all together here. To me, it's your best overall album.
Oh, wow, thank you. You can't help but think that your newest is your best. I mean, I'm of no mind that it's the best we're ever going to do, of course. You know, I feel like we still have a lot of potential and a lot of room to grow and a lot of writing to do. But yeah, we're pretty happy with it. It turned out kind of as we planned. This being, you know, our first time tackling a concept album with this lineup and flying all the way to Denmark to record the darn thing. Yeah, we're really proud of it, and we're excited to hear what everybody else thinks. And we did try some new things, but really what we did for the most part was just kind of took Time Stand Still and polished it up a little bit. And we still are taking little bits from genres that we love and mixing and matching here and there, and just playing what we like and playing what makes us happy, and including a few catchy choruses. So yeah, no, we're pretty stoked on it.
Now this is a concept album, right? About the immortal and the matriarch?
Yes, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about who came up with the idea and how it evolved.
Well, it started for the most part with the two main characters. I came up with the immortal as a character before I had written anything. Before, I mean, it was even the story concept had been written, so he was kind of the driving force behind the record, and just what was his story going to be, what was the adventure that we were going to follow him on. And so I kind of came up with this little background story where, well, he's like a tool, really. He's never lived his own life, he's never been free, he always is serving someone else, and he was cursed from the beginning, really, to just serve others' purposes. And so he sleeps for many years at a time, because if he is, you know, the immortal. And when he's awake, it's because he's been awakened by someone so that they can use him to do evil or make war or peace or whatever it is that they happen to be aiming for. So in this album, he's awakened by the matriarch, and she needs him to find her 4 sons and bring them to her so she can kill them in this crazy ritual to attain immortality. And then, so the album is just kind of him waking up, finding her, being told what to do, and doing it. We just kind of follow along on his quest to complete his task.
With each album, you guys have grown, and you always push yourself musically. Beyond the lyrical theme, did you have any goals for this album that you set out to expand your sound?
I mean, we kind of just were like, well, we've never done a song like this, so let's do that. And we've never done a song like this, so let's do that. But for the most part, yeah, it was just kind of, we let the story guide us, and we let it decide what riffs would stay and what riffs would go, and how each song would turn out. Before we started writing anything, I put the story into like chapters. So each track is basically a chapter. And we use that as a guideline to write by. So, like, for instance, I would say this track is really fast and triumphant, but there's also this underlying sense of foreboding, or this one needs to be really dark and heavy, and this is the one where we talk about killing her sons and that kind of thing. So I would kind of explain what it's about and why it needs to feel a certain way, and then how I felt that we could go about accomplishing that. So, yeah, I don't know. It's musically, we just kind of were doing what we felt like doing at the time, and trying stuff out, it is just kind of what we are always seeking to do. It's just like a genre, different genres that we've heard or influences that we have at the time, and let's try and incorporate that, basically.
So as you just mentioned, you went to Denmark to record the album, working with the amazing Jacob Hansen. What did he bring to the table, and how did he impact the record?
Actually, how it happened was I found him on Wikipedia as I was searching through bands that I love and albums that I love. And I noticed that they all had the same producer. And I was like, who is this Jacob Hansen fellow? And I actually mentioned it to a friend, and my friend was like, oh, yeah, no, I know him. He's in Pyramids, and he was a big fan of Pyramids. So he's like, I think I have him on Facebook. So he got his email for me, and I emailed Jacob and said, I'm in a band, and we're looking to record with you. I've loved, like, so many of the records that you've done before. And he's worked a lot with Volbeat and Amaranth. He's done a Soilwork record, a Tear record, Dragonland, Mercenary. So many awesome records too from those bands, like the ones that I listen to the most, really. So I was like, I would love to have that style and treatment on our next record. So, and luckily it all worked out. He was able to fit us into his schedule, and I think that he's made a big impact on the sound for sure. And a lot of times we wrote riffs specifically knowing that Jacob was going to record them and saying, he's going to really be able to make this sound full-bodied and heavy. And so we definitely kept that in mind when we were writing as well. So, well, I mean, the production was one of the best things about the record, for sure, if you ask me.
Oh, yeah, it's really well produced. And Jacob has his knack for just getting bands to see how they write songs and break them down and getting them to find new ways of doing things. He's got a special talent for that. Yeah, no,
he's a really, he's got a great ear for music, that's for sure. I mean, there was a couple points where I was like, oh, well, like, do you think we should do this or that? And he's just like, either or. They both sound fantastic. And if it was heading in a direction where he didn't like, he would say so. And if, like, at one point, I think Andrew was like, I want to try this solo with a wah pedal. And Jacob was like, okay. And then he did, like, one line or whatever, and then the wah crapped out on him. And then Andrew was like, oh, well, I guess we won't be able to do that. And Jacob was like, no, like, now that I've heard it with the wah, I can't hear it without it. And he ran around trying to fix, get the wah pedal fixed, just because he had that sort of vision, So yeah, it was awesome working with him.
And of course, this was the debut record for Nico. What did he bring to the album?
Lots. His bass lines are incredible, and he really knows how to write to play to his talents and to also complement the band and what's going on with the rest of the music. So he actually, a lot of the parts that he wrote, he waited until the vocals were written and said, I want to kind of play around what you do, and so I don't take away from it, but I'm more kind of more of a foundation to emphasize what you do. So he's great, and he's such a pro. He's a session musician for work, like that's what he does. So he was just like a breeze in the studio. He had all his parts written and ready to go, and he rocked it. I think it was like 2 days or something ridiculous, and then he just came back and did a couple leads later. But yeah, it was great, and we're super stoked to have him.
And Andrew gets to step up a bit vocally on this album, especially on Earth and Ashes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of sprung that on him at the last second. Because the song, I wrote it, and for that little bridge to be in the voice of the sun. Because through the whole record, you're from the POV of the immortal, except for Cleansed Bloodlines, where you are, the matriarch is the one who's singing. But the rest of the record, it's the immortal, and so I kind of wrote this part where the son, who he's about to take back to his mother to die, is forgiving him. Really, is what he's doing, and I didn't want it to be a screaming part, because that's often what I do when I write the screams. Is they're kind of to play off one another, and so one is maybe like an internal voice or straight up just an external character, but. I didn't think it was right for this case, so I said, "Well, Andrew, why don't you get in there and give it a try?" And it's written for my voice, so unfortunately, it is probably a little bit high in his register for him. But I thought he killed it, and I think it sounds great. And I was really proud of him for just kind of being like, "Yeah, all right," hadn't sang in months or whatever, just rocked it. So yeah, it was great.
I was listening to the album and I wanted to ask, is it different for you as a vocalist when you're singing from the perspective of a character such as the matriarch as opposed to just singing a normal song like Test Your Metal?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I was really, especially like, yeah, with Cleanse, I just could feel like her anger and her depravity, kind of you become so involved in the song when you taken so much time and effort to write it out like I did, and I've just gotten, and over the months and months of writing, I really got to know these characters and who they are as people in my in my head, and I was really excited, especially to do that one because she's just this wicked chick, but she's so badass, and I was really excited to sort of be her voice, and I just wanted to make sure that I did that justice. And then the rest of the album is kind of like this push-pull of the Immortal's emotions as he's super excited to be alive and awake and in the world again, but also knowing that he's doing wrong by all these people and he can't help it. So I tried to capture as much of that as possible as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun getting to sort of sing your story out as opposed to writing, which is so many mediums for other people. So yeah.
And you really came into your own on Time Stands Still. I mean, you were really exuding confidence vocally there. What challenged you most as vocalist on Apex?
Well, I definitely, I kind of go off the rails a little bit, like especially in Earth and Ashes, where it's like at the top of my chest voice and I'm belting pretty much the whole time. And I was just really trying to capture that intense anguish that he's feeling at finally, and meeting the last son, who is actually a really like nice, great, wise person, and he's like so upset that he has to take him back to put him on the altar. And so I really wrote that song and quite a few of the others in the like at the top of my chest voice. So I'm belting quite a bit, as opposed to on the last record where I was doing a lot more high stuff and falsettos. I really was pushing on this record more than anything. So I mean, it's kind of a middle ground. The high stuff is actually much easier for me. So this was a very challenging record, and we'll see if I can pull it off live.
Oh, I have no doubt you'll be able to pull it off live. So did you guys have any fun or unusual behind-the-scenes story from making the album or the videos?
Well, we have a little video on our YouTube, which is the behind-the-scenes stuff in the studio. Mm-hmm. We were all living together in this little sort of cottage out in the Danish countryside, and we had a lot of fun living together as a band, like a bunch of roommates. And we'd go out every night and go buy dinner and bring it home and hang out together, and it was a really positive time in our lives, and I think we'll all probably look back fondly on that for the rest of time, and hopefully we'll get to do it again. That's the plan. So I mean, no really like hilarious adventure stories, I guess, but just the whole recording session in total was really a really good time of us living together. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you can see the video, and it's set to actually the song from a Danish band, like a Danish pop band called Laban. So it's you can really get into the mind frame of the headspace of where we were at the time.
All right, so before we get out of here, you guys recorded a cover of Twisted Sister's Stay Hungry for the Japanese edition of the last album.
Yes.
Any treats like that hiding out there for the new record?
Yes, but I can't say what it is yet.
but we know it's there. It's coming.
Yes, so. But I'm really excited about it. It was like an honor for me to get the chance to do one of these guys' songs, because they're a really big influence for me, and the vocalist is one of my like top three. Yeah, it's really exciting, and I hope that everyone will search it out and find a version of it, because it's kind of, it's too bad that it's only on the Japanese edition, and hopefully it gets out into the bigger world somehow.
It will pop up on the internet somewhere. All right, so before we get out of here, I'm always hoping and praying, but the U.S. just keeps making it more and more difficult for Canadian bands. But is there any chance that we will see you down here stateside in the next year?
Yeah, we are booking. We're in the middle of it, so hopefully something will work out. We've had a couple things kind of come to fruition and then fall through. So, but we are working on it, and if all goes as planned, we will be down there this fall and hopefully hitting as many cities as possible. That's kind of the plan.
With Nico in tow this time, hopefully.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. So I don't have to sing his parts.
All right, Brittney Slayes, Unleash the Archers, the new album, Apex, out June 2nd. Thank you so much for taking the time. And Sync, thank you so much for the new album.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We will talk again soon, and I will see you when you hit the States.
All right, have a good night.